It's mystery knit-along time. Don't know what that is? I'm gonna tell you. I'm also gonna help you with some of the challenges or the fears or the obstacles that you might face as you're considering knitting a mystery knit-along shawl. Hey there, thank you so much for being here. My name is Felicia from SweetGeorgia, and this is Taking Back Friday. This is actually my attic. This is a space where we come every Friday and we talk about knitting and spinning and weaving and dyeing. We talk about the fiber arts, and I like to talk a lot about how important it is to make time to make things. Now, one of the things that I am making time for right now is a bunch more knitting. I think in the last week I was saying I kind of put some of my knitting projects on hold, and then I started to crave that feeling in my fingers again. And so I have a whole bunch more knitting projects on the go right now. I'm going to share those with you a little later on, but first I'm going to tell you about the thing that is happening right now that is going to start very soon, and that is our annual SweetGeorgia Mystery Knit-Along Shawl. So today what I wanted to do was first share with you guys a little bit about what mystery knit-alongs are, and then what specifically we're going to be doing this year for 2020. Now, before I get into all the mystery knit-along stuff, I do have a couple of announcements that I want to share with you guys because I forgot to list them last week. But basically I have a couple of announcements, and that is that our Spinning with E-Spinners workshop just happened on July 13th, and that replay is up and available in the School of SweetGeorgia. So if you're a member there, you can go and check out that. It's about 90 minutes long, and it's a workshop with Debbie Held where she teaches about various different e-spinners. So if you have an e-spinner, you want to learn to use an e-spinner, you're looking for a comparison between e-spinners, all of that is there in that course, so you can go and check that out. We also have a PDF that we've prepared with a comparison of all the different e-spinners that are available on the market. It's kind of like what their price points are, what their features are, what they come with, what their sizes are, all of that kind of stuff. So that is all there. The second thing that's on the school that just recently launched is another class that's called Leah Learns Design. And so this is something that we have been mentioning for the past couple of months, but basically Leah Churchley, who helps edit all the videos for the School of SweetGeorgia, she is learning how to design her own sweater from scratch. And so she's doing that by being mentored by Tabitha Hedrick, who's our design director at SweetGeorgia. So Tabitha has had many years of experience with designing garments, designing shawls, designing socks, everything. And she's actually just recently come out with a book called Switch and Knit Stitch Dictionary, which has a whole bunch of patterns in there where you can basically design something from scratch as well. So Tabitha is mentoring Leah through this series. It's going to be an ongoing series. And then at the end of the series, you'll see hopefully Leah with her finished sweater that will fit and everything will be great. But for now, the first episode where they're just getting started and they're learning about swatching and the importance of swatching, all of that is right now available on the school. So I think those are the two announcements that I missed last week that I had to share with you today. Now, the big announcement is this 2020 SweetGeorgia Mystery Knit-Along Shawl project. We've done this for 4 years already, I think. This shawl that I'm wearing right now, this is actually the 2017 Mystery Shawl Knit-Along that we did. I love it. This turned out to be a really beautiful project. This is like a 3-skein shawl. It's actually called Cedarburg. So it's no longer a mystery right now, but if you wanted to knit this particular shawl, this one's called Cedarburg. You can find that on Ravelry and on our website and all that kind of stuff. So basically what a mystery knit-along is a project where you don't know what it's going to look like at the end of the day. So every week for a number of weeks, you get a little bit of a clue. So you get knitting instructions, a chunk of knitting instructions, and you follow that chunk of knitting instructions until you're done, and then the next chunk of knitting instructions is revealed to you either through like a PDF pattern update or an email or something like that. But then you receive the next chunk of instructions, then you knit that. And so as you knit this, you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know what shape it's going to be, you don't know what form it's going to take, you don't know anything about what the end result is going to be. You just kind of follow along with the instructions as they're being handed out to you, and you see where you get to. And at the end of the project, you might have something like this fabulous shawl. So for this year, 2020's Mystery Knit Along project, it's called Laurel Mists. It's designed by Tabitha, again, Tabitha Hedrick. And if you guys didn't know, we at Sweet Georgia, we're located in Vancouver in Canada, but we have for 5 years now worked with Tabitha, and she's our design director. She lives in Tennessee. And so every time we do this Mystery Knit Along, this is Tabitha's project. This is Tabitha's design, Tabitha's baby. And so it is inspired by her local environment. And so this one, the Laurel Mists, if you'll read in the description, it's all inspired by the Smoky Mountains near where she lives. So you can kind of envision, she writes it beautifully, but you can kind of envision what this is going to be like. So this shawl takes 3 skeins of yarn. So there's going to be one for a main color, it's Cash Luxe Spark, and then another color that's going to be a contrast color, also Cash Luxe Spark, just a skein of yarn, cashmere, or it's our cashmere sock yarn. And then the 3rd skein of yarn is going to be a sock blank. So this is the first time we've ever done a Mystery Knit Along with a sock blank incorporated in the mix. And so if you guys have probably heard me talk about sock blanks before, but basically it's a piece of fabric that was knitted when it was undyed yarn, and then we dyed it in this fabric format, and then it can be unraveled as you go and then knit into the project that you're going to be working on. So like this is a sock blank, and this is a sock blank, different sock blanks. And so as we always do, we provide a whole bunch of color combinations, color ideas, sort of like set combos to make it easy if you want to participate in this knit along. Or you can pull together your own skeins, make your own color combination. If you have, your own sock blanks at home, if you've dyed your own sock blanks, feel free to use those in the project as well. So from what Tabitha is saying, the original design sample that she's created has 2 skeins of Cash Luxe Spark that are very, very, not entirely close together, but they're very complementary to each other. They're very similar, they're very close together. They softly contrast. And then they both softly contrast against the high contrast of the sock blank. So this hand-dyed sock blank. So you'll see in her sample, there's like 2 colors that are a little bit, not pale, but subdued, more subtle, and those are close together. And then it's contrasted with this. So if you don't want to use a sock blank, that's perfectly fine. You can swap this out for something else that's going to be relatively high contrast. So maybe it's a brighter color, maybe it's saturated color, maybe it's a multicolor, maybe it's splashy, whatever it is, you can absolutely sub this out if you don't want to use a sock blank. So you might be wondering how you participate in the Mystery Knit Along, and all you need to do is basically purchase the pattern on Ravelry or on our website. So either place you can buy the pattern, and once you get the pattern, you'll get sort of the first PDF will get sent out to you, and it will be sort of an overview of what materials you need, what needle size you need, all of that kind of stuff. And then when the clue release dates start to come up, that's when you'll get an update to that PDF with more details, with the chunk of instructions and all of that kind of stuff. So once you're in with Ravelry or on our website, then you'll have the opportunity to get all the updates for the pattern. Now that's the logistics of, how to get your pattern instructions from week to week for these clues. The other big and significant part of working on a Mystery Knit Along is that you do it together sort of in community. It's a make together, it's a make along. We're knitting together, we're knitting along together. And so we are hosting the community section where, you're having chat, discussion, sharing progress photos, sharing works in progress. All of that conversation happens on our community forums that are at the School of Sweet Georgia. So in order to get hooked into that, all you need to do is to sign up for a free account if you don't already have one, and then you'll be able to access the community forums there, and then there's a group that you can sign up for, the Laurel Mists 2020 Mystery Knit Along group, and it's all there, and everybody's already started to have conversations about what colors they're picking, which bundles they're using, what they're going to be making. We will also this year be having little tutorial videos along the way. So the tutorial videos and all of that kind of stuff, it'll get listed on our blog, it'll get listed in the group, it'll get listed in your emails and all of that kind of stuff as well. So like I said, the Laurel Mists MCAL pattern, you can find it on Ravelry or our website. Right now it's a discounted price until the end of August, and then September 1st is when the first clue will come out. So the cast on date, the very first date, is going to be September 1st. And then it's a weekly clue. So every week there's going to be another chunk of instructions. And we have 5 weeks of clues. And then after that, you can start sharing your finished shawls. So you can see, like, this shawl that I knit in 2017, I did not know what it was going to turn out like. For a number of years when we were doing these mystery knit-alongs, I told Tabitha that I didn't want to know what the end result was going to be because I wanted to enjoy the mystery along with everybody else as we're knitting it. And then in more recent years, I was like, well, it's really hard for me to tell you about the mystery knit-along if I don't know what it's going to be. And so this year I know what it's going to be, and it's awesome. However, I want to share with you guys some of the things that you might consider as you're, looking at and considering a mystery knit-along and joining a mystery knit-along. Because there's going to be a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of fear attached to this idea that you don't know what it's going to look like. What if you don't like how it looks? What if you don't like how the colors combine together? Yeah. And especially not, like, I'm thinking about it now, we're going through a time of collective uncertainty. Do you really want to put yourself into a position where you don't really know what's going to happen? Could that cause even more anxiety? So I've been thinking about a lot of these things right now, and I have some things that I want to say about all of this. And mainly, this whole project is to encourage you to feel like everything is going to be all right. Everything is going to turn out in the end. I've seen the design. It's awesome. It's spectacular. So part of the reason why I'm so stoked on the idea of a mystery knit-along is actually 2 things. And that is that a mystery knit-along highlights 2 very important concepts. The first is that consistent progress will get you to the end. So we deliver these clues, over 5 weeks. And then if you just kind of commit to knitting a little bit every day, and, making a little bit of progress, working through the instructions, that consistent progress will eventually get you to the end. Now, one of the things that people worry about with a mystery knit-along is that they can't keep up with the pace of the knit-along. Like, they can't finish the clue instructions in that 1 week and just don't have enough time. And it gives them a little bit of anxiety over not being able to finish all the way to the end of that clue each week and to be able to keep up with the make-along. I want to put you at peace and have you know that it doesn't matter when you finish this mystery knit-along. It doesn't matter if you finish, weeks or months after. This project was also, I think, supposed to be split over 4 or 5 weeks. And it took me 3 months, over 3 months to knit this. And it was fine. Everything worked out in the end. You don't need to keep the pace of when the clues are being distributed. You can knit at your own pace. The next clue comes and you're not finished, don't look at the next clue. You don't have to look at it until you're ready. The one thing you might want to avoid is you might want to avoid social media in case people are posting their progress. We encourage people not to post their progress photos on social media without like a cover hiding what they're actually doing, because we don't want to spoil the surprise for anybody who's not working at the same pace. So those are just a couple of things to keep in mind. But again, work at your own pace, knit at your own pace. It's not meant to be a stressful activity. It's meant to just highlight the fact that consistent progress will get you to the end. The second thing that I feel like is really important about mystery knit-alongs is that it highlights the concept that you never know what is going to happen. Not in this mystery knit-along, not in life. You never know what is coming around the corner, what is going to happen next. And so part of participating in a mystery knit-along means that you surrender yourselves to the possible outcome of what that might be. And you just trust that it's going to turn out. You trust that it's going to be okay. You trust that even if it's like not perfect, that you will have enjoyed the knitting along the way, that you will enjoy the colors coming together, that you will have enjoyed that process. And to release yourselves from the expectation of what that outcome might be. It's life. It's a life lesson. So yeah, if you are interested in knitting along with this group, with this life lesson, and learning to surrender to your knitting and to life and to enjoy the process as it comes along, I encourage you guys to join the Laurel Mists Mystery Knit-Along. Right now, the pattern is available. Right now, the kits are available. Right now, the group is available to join. So yeah, if you pre-order all of your yarns right now, then they will be shipped and ready for you before the start date, before the cast-on date. of the mystery knit along. So yeah, if you guys need any more information, you can find it on the blog. I'm going to list the link down below or here, and then you can check out all of the details about it there. Now I'm going to share with you some of the things that I have actually been knitting, what's actually on my needles right now. A couple of things. So yeah, about a couple of weeks ago, I showed you some of the yarns that had recently come off of my e-spinner. So these are some handspun yarns that I had, and I have been wanting to make some handspun socks. So I started with each one of these balls, just started knitting some socks. I'm using the pattern that Kate Atherley wrote in her Custom Fit Socks book, doing the toe up socks, because I don't know how much yarn I have, and I'm just gonna kind of knit until I run out of yarn. But I started, I knit a gauge swatch, I measured the gauge, I measured my foot, I did all the calculations, and I started knitting the sock, and then I feel like it's a little bit too big. I feel like, you know, you're going to be able to stretch your sock, and it's going to become saggy and a little bit loose. And so I decided to fudge the numbers a little bit and then reknit a second sock. So I started, I think this is 56 stitches around, and this one is 48 stitches around. And now I feel like the 48 one is a little bit too small. And I don't want it to stretch too much and then cause too much damage to the sock and maybe have it wear through a little bit sooner. So now I'm kind of like in the middle, thinking if I should pull all this out and then knit it again. But this is kind of my handspun sock adventure right now. I talked to Tabitha. She said I measured my foot in the wrong place. She says don't measure your foot on the widest part of your foot, but measure just behind that, more to your instep, just behind the ball of your foot. So I'm going to try that again, do my calculations all over again and see. But luckily, I mean, this is very easy and very portable. I'm going camping in a couple of weeks with a couple of other families, and so this might be, I think that this is going to be the thing that I bring with me. So socks, knitting socks in the dark. The other thing that I've been working on, which I just recently started, is the Marie Green knit along, that 4-day sweater knit along. This has already taken me more than 4 days, I'm pretty sure, but this is for the soundtrack sweater. And you can see this is my beginning. So I'd mentioned this in a couple videos before this, the Marie Green Olive Knits 4-day sweater knit along. Last year I knit the beekeeper cardigan, which was a pattern from one of her 4-day sweater knit alongs. And this new pattern is called Soundtrack. It's a pullover, it's a top down pullover, and it's got a yoke that has this cool sort of slip stitch pattern. And the slip stitch pattern is designed to look like tracks on a vinyl record, which is why it's called Soundtrack. So this yarn that I'm using here is the BFL and Silk DK. It's knitting up really, really nicely. It's going to be like a cozy winter sweater. I'm absolutely not going to be able to wear it in cooler months. It's going to be quite warm. This is not a superwash yarn or anything like that, so it has that bit of a rustic kind of crunchy feel to it, but it feels good. It feels like it's going to be warm. The sleeves seem like they're going to be quite roomy, which could be good. It feels, I think it's going to be like almost like a sweatshirt feel, pullover sort of thing. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this turns out. You can see I'm using I have 2 special stitch markers here. I'm using one of the cherry blossom ones, the cherry blossom stitch marker from Leah, and then she made us ones for Christmas too. It's a tiny little bubble tea. So yeah, these 2 stitch markers to mark the 2 sides of the sweater as I knit this. So yeah, that's what I've been working on. I've been working on a couple of projects, these knitting projects. I'm hoping that once I finish the yoke, it will be just in time for the camping trip, where I'm going to knit just rounds and rounds of stockinette without stopping, without thinking. It's going to be wonderful. That's my plan. I also have a I'm thinking about it. I don't know how much stuff we need to pack in the car, but I've been thinking about taking the e-spinner along with me on the camping trip as well. I don't know how reasonable that seems, but yeah, I'm thinking a little bit about taking this with me. I've been spinning on this every night, so yeah, I might do that on the camping trip too. So that's basically it for today, for this week. Thank you so much for being here. If you are interested in the mystery knit along, or if you have questions about the mystery knit along, please feel free to post your questions below. I'll try to answer them there. And if you're interested in joining the knit along, you can find all the details on our blog, and I'll have that link here as well. I have been making, together with Bridget's help, we have been making very good show notes, very comprehensive show notes about each one of these episodes, that you have all the details for all the things that I'm talking about here. And yeah, if you like this episode, please do hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more, please do hit subscribe. And I come here every Friday to talk about knitting and color and craft and all these wonderful things. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. All right, bye for now.